Hey there, Lionesses. This is Bobby Carlton. I am the publisher and editor-in-chief of Lioness magazine for the female entrepreneur. I'm also the founder of Innovation Women, an online speaking bureau for entrepreneurial, technical, and professional women. Today, we are speaking with Alinka Rutkowska, and she is the founder and CEO of Leaders Press. Leaders Press is a USA Today and Wall Street Journal best-selling publisher that helps turn business leaders into best-selling authors. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Bobby.
Thank you so much for joining us, Alinka. I am so excited to have you here today because we have so many people that are interested in becoming authors. Let's start off by asking a little bit about you and your path. What was your path to success like?
Well, this is a great question. And, I feel like I'm still on it. I'm still on it, but I'll tell you what my path has been up till now. So I came from the corporate world. I worked for large multinational corporations where I had roles in different departments, including operations and marketing. And at a certain point, I just felt like I hit a glass ceiling. I was really excited at the beginning, but not so much later on. And so I had the courage to leave, because at a certain point I wrote a book, and the royalties from that book exceeded my corporate salary. So that's when I said, I don't need you guys. I think I can do it on my own.
Now, you went from selling washing machines to publishing in little over a decade. Were there transferable skills?
Right. Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's funny when you put it that way. It's true. Yes, there were some transferable skills for sure. I had a marketing background. I studied marketing and I worked in marketing. Being a little piece of the huge corporate machinery, just being responsible for just such a small piece, to going to being responsible for your career, your household. I didn't have a household yet. It was just me. But basically, you become everything. You're the boss. You carry all the hats. I mean, you don't have any people to manage it, but you're the boss of yourself. You give yourself orders or tasks. And it's completely different. It's a completely different mindset. But the transferable skills for sure, some of the marketing that I studied and then did helped me understand book marketing. For sure, it helped me understand that you need to market your book, because I think a lot of authors don't realize how important that is. And I think that was my main focus. I knew I can't just write a book and rely on my amazing writing skills. I never thought of myself as an amazing writer, but I did think of myself as a marketer. So that was something that I chose to focus really early on. And that's something that allowed me to grow and flourish and stand out now in the publishing space.
So speaking of standing out, one of the things about becoming an author is it's really kind of a fast track to credibility. Can you talk a little bit about that phenomenon? I mean, this is a reason for business owners to become authors.
Yes. Author, authority. It's really interesting when we work with high-level entrepreneurs who manage really successful companies, 7, 8, 9-figure businesses. We've worked with the co-founder of DHL International. That's a multi-billion-dollar business. And so many of the entrepreneurs that we work with, on their LinkedIn profile, when we start working together, they call themselves founder or CEO of their company. And by the time we're done working together, they call themselves best-selling author or USA Today best-selling author and founder or CEO of this company. So it's just so important to them. The perceived authority, the perceived credibility is so high when you become an author, even higher when you become a best-selling author, even higher when you become a USA Today best-selling author. That is, extremely sought after by entrepreneurs who want to stand out. In many cases, people, entrepreneurs searching for their unique selling proposition want to say, okay, there's a lot of, let's say, financial planners, but I'm the only one who specializes in this and is a best-selling author. So they want to have this extra tool in their toolbox, an extra reason for their prospective clients to choose them to work with. And I have more stories, but I don't know how much time we can spend on this.
I love the connection between author and authority. Never occurred to me before. So talk to me a little bit about some of the other, you mentioned CEO at DHL. Tell me about some of the other books under your imprint. Who do you work with? What are some of the topics they're writing on?
Okay, well, I think it would make sense for me to talk about the anthologies that we do, because there you can learn a lot about many of our authors. So, for example, we did a really cool anthology called Quit Less, and this is the book on the USA Today best-selling list, and we also have a screenshot of Quit Less on the Wall Street Journal best-selling list. This book is about persistence, and we have more than 30 authors. They're all entrepreneurial types who share how they never give up and how that allowed them to accomplish what they have accomplished up till now. So I think that's a really great read. Another good read is Business Success Secrets. This is also this year's release. And again, here you have Business Success Secrets on the USA Today bestseller list and Business Success Secrets on the Wall Street Journal bestseller list. And, as the title suggests, the book talks about the entrepreneurial thinking that works. So these are specifically for entrepreneurs. I think for you ladies and gentlemen listening to us, you will really like it because there are different points of view, and you can see how you can be persistent in different areas of life, not only career-wise. There are also some personal stories and challenges and learnings of how entrepreneurs were able to push through those obstacles. So I think that these are really cool books. I don't know if I want to single out a specific author, because then some others would say, well, you didn't single me out.
Which of your children do you like best?
Exactly. But we have a lot of good books that you can actually learn a lot from. And just think about it, in a book, like, you put in your best knowledge in a way that's easily accessible, that makes sense. Like right now, I want to be a great leader of my sales team. And so what am I going to do? Yes, I can hire an expert. I am hiring an expert, but I also picked up a couple of books. And one of the books I picked up, it's just amazing. I know, because I help entrepreneurs write books, I know that write books. I know this is their best knowledge in it. And I read through it and I'm thinking, just to write this paragraph, it took this author like 10 years maybe of their life to learn to do this. And now they're sharing it with me, and I have 200 more pages of this. So I become so appreciative of entrepreneurs who share their knowledge, because it's decades of their wisdom, all put on a silver platter for the reader to read and to apply. That's why I think everybody should write a book. Everybody who has something to share that we can learn from. And they're one of the best starting points to learn and to grow.
Absolutely. So, for one of these executives, we're talking about busiest people on the planet. We are talking about a huge project. Writing a book can be a massive project, especially for is the executives. So how does your firm help?
Mm-hmm. Well, we're here to basically become the who. When you have a list of tasks and things to do, you can't do it all on your own. You need to delegate it. So we're the person to delegate it to. And the way it works is when we identify that we have a successful idea, a great unique selling proposition, then we interview the entrepreneur. It's about 12 to 15 interviews, usually one a week. They're all recorded and transcribed. Using those transcripts, we have ghostwriters who will write the book, and then it goes through editing and publishing. We distribute it through Simon Schuster, who's one of the largest publishers in the US. So that's an amazing USP for us. Because I'm always thinking USP for our entrepreneurs, for us. So that's a great unique selling proposition. All our books go through their system. And we also guarantee bestseller success. So depending.
All right, wait. I got to jump on that.
Okay.
How do you do that? I mean, a predictable path for success for an author, that's huge. That's massive. How are you doing that?
Well, as you mentioned at the beginning of the interview, more than a decade of experience doing this. And I think it's become more difficult overall. It's more difficult to become a best-selling author now than it was 10 years ago when there were fewer books and maybe some techniques or, authors were able to somehow game the system on Amazon, the algorithm. Amazon knows about that now, so it's no longer possible. But we have a proven system that works. So we know what we need to do to get a book on the bestseller charts. It starts with the positioning. So it starts with the fact that the book has to fit into a specific category. So we know there are readers. So we're going to write about leadership or about finance or about IT or whatever, but it has to be something that people are already reading. And once we have that, we want to make sure that there is a reason why the readers should pick up this author's book and not another one. So you can't have a Me Too book. You have to give them a really good reason why they should pick up yours. I have examples if you want me to elaborate on that. That's the foundation. And then, comes writing a high quality book, and then the marketing and knowing what to do to get those sales, how the algorithm actually works, and all the promotional activities that we run, orchestrating the launch in advance. It's all in the preparation. So basically the launch week, we pretty much, just sit and relax and enjoy the week. Everything has already been prepared by the time we're launching.
Wow. Okay. Now you're an author yourself. Tell us about your book.
Books.
Oh, sorry. Books.
Right. Yeah. So I have a bunch. I think I will tell you about my book. So, which is the one that I'm using as my lead generator. There are two types of books that we do for entrepreneurs. One is a lead generator, which is meant to bring in leads for the business, and one is more of a legacy piece. So the one that I like showing as a legacy piece is the book that we did for the co-founder of DHL International, Designed to Win. You'll see the DHL colors. It's this one we did for DHL's 50th anniversary. And Mr. Chung, he doesn't need any leads. He already has a multi-billion-dollar company. He's good. So this is a legacy piece. This is about how he built DHL from the ground up, himself starting as a delivery guy. He was the delivery guy and the CEO. So there's a great story about him going into one of the banks, I think. See, they started working with banks. And he went to the founder to talk about doing business with them. And then there was an okay. So the founder sent them to the secretary, to the assistant. And the assistant said, you don't have to do the paperwork with you. You can send me your, delivery person. And then he says, well, I am the delivery person too. So on his business card, it said, I think, founder or CEO and the delivery guy, because the CEO title got him into the offices of the people he needed to talk to, but then he was also driving. And now it's a multi-billion-dollar company. So this is an amazing story of how he built the company, a true legacy piece. And now my book that I want to talk about is Outsource Your Book. This is a specific lead generator. So the reason we did this book is to get people to find us and start working with us. The way Mr. Chung, that we did Design to Win for, found us is he found Outsource Your Book on Amazon. He opened it, he went to a link that's in it, and he booked a time on my calendar. And that's how we got started. I would never have been able to get to him through digital door-to-door knocking, because we do that. Like, we have a pretty robust outreach. But this Mr. Chung is not on LinkedIn. Like, you can't reach out through him. He has multiple gatekeepers. So he had to find us. If you don't have a lead gen book, you're missing out, a significant chunk of your potential audience. So Outsource Your Book is what we're about. If somebody wants to outsource your book, understands the word outsource. Not everybody does. Okay, we take it for granted. Not everybody knows what outsource means. If you know what outsource means, you're probably already our target audience. Outsource your book, you're thinking about doing your book. Talking about this book, if you want, I can explain what the unique selling proposition is in, the positioning.
Absolutely.
Okay. Great. So what is this book about? The general category, when you go to Amazon, you have to find something that it fits into. So it will fit into authorship or writing skills. There are these categories. But when you go to authorship, let's say go to authorship, you will find author books. For example, this book, this was my first book, How I Sold 80,000 Books. Well, no, it wasn't my first book because I sold other books. This was my first book for authors. How I Sold 80,000 Books. This book is about authorship. It's marketing authorship. And this was already out. Writing Grow Rich is another USA Today anthology. Also writing skills. So these books are about writing. Okay. So we know that there is a market for books on writing or on authorship. That's important. We need to know there's a market. Okay, so I know there are books. These are two of them that are in that category. Thousands of others, but okay, there are two here. So how do I now come up with a book and give the reader a reason to buy my book? Outsource Your Book is not about how to write your book or how to market your book. It's about how to outsource each element of doing your book. And this is the unique selling proposition. This is the reason why you would get this book when you see it next to all these other books on Amazon. So if you want to outsource it, this should resonate with you. You are not going to get How I Sold 80,000 Books because you don't really want to do the selling. You're not really going to do Write and Grow Rich because you don't actually want to do the writing. You want to outsource it. So this is what you need to do for your book. You need to know that it fits in and it stands out. So it has a unique selling proposition.
That's great. Now, a lot of the people who are listening to this interview are female entrepreneurs who are running their own businesses, and you're running a business here. And you told me previously that your superpower is conducting the orchestra. So let's talk a little bit about that, conducting the orchestra, because part of it starts with hiring. I mean, can maybe you share some of those hiring strategies? How are you assembling that orchestra?
Yes, great question. Well, at first we were not so great at hiring, then we paid the price. But now we got much better. So I can tell you what our hiring process looks like. First, we identify who we need and what the responsibilities are. So we will write a role, a job description, so to speak. And for people who have sort of organically grown with us from, let's say, assistant to COO, they actually wrote their own, job description, even though they're already in that role, but just to be clear what they're doing. So we will put together a job description for who we're looking for, post that on various sites where you look for people, And one of the first things I ask for when people say I'm interested is, can you send me a 3-minute video, below 3-minute video about why you think you're a good fit in the next 24 hours. So there are a few things that I'm looking for, like just a general feeling to get to, feel this person out, and to see if they are able to meet the deadline, 24 hours, and also to see if they're able to record a video that's below 3 minutes. And also what they say. I mean, what they say is not as important. I mean, it is important, but it's not as important as if they do it on time, if they are able to meet the specifications and the vibe that we're getting. Mm-hmm. And most people don't do that. So they're already out. Like the vast majority just can't be bothered to do it. So, we've already excluded a large pool of people with a super easy task. Once they do that, and we know that there are people, because one of our core values, we have core values, is to be communicative. So they have to communicate in a way that we can understand. And once they do that, we give them an assignment. So if they're a project manager managing the book projects from, idea to launch, we would give them a task to develop some interview questions or look for competing titles. Competing titles is what I talked about in positioning. What are the other books in your category? Once they do that successfully, then we will invite them to the interview. For writers, there's other writing. And editors, they have to meet like high standard tasks. So they have to do all that. And then we do an interview. As we do the interview, we have 8 core values, and we have questions designed that help us understand if they meet these core values.
That is quite the process.
Yeah. Well, we didn't know it at the beginning. We also go through the GWC rubric, which is by Gino Wickman, the author of Traction, whether they get it, want it, have the capacity to do it. So do they get it? Like, do they get our culture? Do they want to do it? Or are they just forced because they lost their job, but they don't really want to do it? We want somebody who wants to do it. And do they have the capacity? Like, do they have the skill? Do they have the bandwidth? Do they have another job? Because if they have another job, we really want to invest in people, grow them within. And, I don't really want to work with somebody who can give me 5 hours a week. Right. So they've just learned so much making mistakes that we went and started looking for how to hire and develop this whole process. And then they will have a first interview with their supervisor, let's call it. I don't love that word, but they will have a first interview with the chief operations officer, for example. And if there's a green light, then they will have an interview with me. So far, I'm able to still do it, and we're not a huge team. We're 20 people, so I can still talk to everybody. And then after my green light, then they're onboarded and welcome to the team. And when I have the green light, like once they've done everything and they talk to me, the decision has pretty much been made. Like I usually, when they come into the interview with me, it's already a tentative yes, unless I just find something so crazy that's an absolute red flag. That would be the only reason. Like they would really have to screw it up for it to become a no. So yeah, that's it. And we have a really strong team right now. I'm really, really confident about what our team is doing. And it impacts my happiness.
I think that's indicative of a true entrepreneur. It's like you care about the success of the organization. As we come to a close today, can you share some advice for our audience? Again, we're talking to women entrepreneurs. Is there particular things that they should be taking away from our conversation today that will impact their future success?
I think it would be wonderful as you're thinking about growing your business, if you could use a book as something that you could have in your toolbox, the main reason would be lead generation. And lead conversion. So lead generation is because the book is on Amazon. So the co-founder of DHL International or the equivalent of that for you can find you. And then the lead conversion. So if you do sales and speak one-to-one to prospects, or if you have a team that does it, you want them to read your book before they come to the call. Because they come and it's a completely different conversation. They're much more sophisticated. They're much more ready to go. They don't ask you basic questions like, hey, so like, what do you do, right? They already know that, and their only questions are, well, how does this pertain to my specific situation? So that's super valuable. You're an instant authority. Something that we're doing for our sales team right now, they're all doing books. So nice. Yes, so I'm doing fewer sales. A team is doing more sales, and we want them to be the authority. And when they speak to prospects and they get a question about the process, they can say, I'm actually going through it right now. This is how it works. Or I just went through it right now. This is what I did with my book. So they're the ultimate authority. And it's a fantastic lead conversion tool. So it's great for business growth. And then, if you want something that will live beyond you, and hopefully that will be your business. We don't know what the generation after us will do, or what whoever we will sell to will do. Hopefully we'll have an exit that makes everything worthwhile. A book will live on. A book will live on. Your children, grandchildren can read about their grandma, what that was about, what she was about, and how come they have these talents that they now have. So I think 2 great reasons to get a book out, whether you write it yourself and self-publish, whether you try to find an agent who will take care of it, or whether you work with a hybrid publisher like Leaders Press. Definitely think about how your book could help you grow your business and help you leave a legacy.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. So again, we're talking with Alinka. She's the founder and CEO of Leaders Press. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Bobby. This has been amazing.